edition of the We Talk Chelsea podcast. Today we've got a special edition as Temba and myself and Tom, in fact, reside in beautiful Birmingham. Aston Villa actually is a club that we know fairly well, and obviously living here, we know a fair few Aston Villa fans. So we thought it might be a good idea to do a preview for the upcoming fixture. This Sunday, isn't it? The fixture. Obviously, Villa's got their Thursday club matches, which we'll no doubt talk about a little bit later on. Sunday's match against Aston Villa at the Bridge. Niall is our special guest. He's a lifelong Aston Villa fan, home and away, and in Europe this season. Niall, just give us a bit of an overview of. Obviously Chelsea. I think a lot of the viewers will know Chelsea's crooked start to the season. Not a lot may know about Aston Villa. Obviously finished, what was it, 7th, 8th last season?
Yeah, 7th last season. Obviously for me, it's all down to the manager, mate. It's if we'd have kept Steven Gerrard, you wouldn't be saying them words that we're playing in Europe on Thursday. Put it that way. We've signed some fantastic players over the summer. This DRB is just unbelievable player. His numbers, he's quick. We've got Tielemans. He can't even get in the team. You know, I know Leicester got relegated, but I'm sorry, but Tielemans was playing for a move. That's why he weren't putting in the effort for Leicester. He didn't want to get injured. I think that's what it was. For him to not be able to get in our 11 is just because I think he's a fantastic player. Pau Torres, the signing from Villarreal. Obviously, Emery knows him well from Villarreal. So he's had, to be fair, he has had a bit of a slow start. He's a good player, good on the ball, can pick a pass. Obviously, he set a goal up the weekend. I was offside in the end. The DRB scored a goal that was ruled out for offside.
Yeah.
But yeah, his passing ability is unreal. The only thing with him is he can get dragged out of position a lot. That's the only thing with Torres. But he's learning in the Premier League. That's the thing. Negatives with this we've played 5 games. We've beaten who we should beat, really. Burnley, Everton and Crystal Palace. And we've lost to Newcastle 5-1, which, let's be honest, it was all because of the Tyrone Mings injury didn't help. Do that. If that don't happen, it's not 5-1. We probably lose. We didn't play well, but everyone was shell shocked with that injury. And who was the other team we got beat by?
Liverpool
3-0. The high line cost us in that game, and that's the only thing that I don't particularly like when we play like that against teams that can hurt us. It just doesn't. It's all right against the likes of Palace and Everton and Burnley, like, you know, the teams we've beaten. But if we play like that against anyone that's supposed to beat us, or is a 50-50 kind of game, it's not good. I'd rather sit deep and soak up pressure and just counter attack in games like that. It's not sustainable whatsoever to be playing like that against teams above us. It did work last season. At the back end of last season, it did work. But like I say, it's just not sustainable.
And that's down to injuries more. Just people like Mings being out, people who are sort of you rely heavily on, or is it just it's just the fact that you'll just get punished so much easier against those better teams?
There's just more quality, isn't there? Playing against them kind of team. You know, if you've seen the Liverpool game, the 3-0, you watch every goal. It's just you can just tell it's due to the high line.
Yeah.
Okay, and what do you think about like your fullbacks? Do you think they're adapted to play more a deeper game or a more high pressing game?
Well, this is the thing. Matty Cash is the most inconsistent. I've never known a player to. Sometimes he's unreal and he's all right in a free. He's good in a free at the back. That's where he played at Forest in a free. Well, it's a 5, but a free. You know, when you going forward. And Digne on the other side, he just can't defend. He cannot defend. That's the problem with him. He's good going forward, and he's got a good delivery as well. He's got an outstanding delivery. He can take a free kick. But that we'll talk about it in a bit, I'm sure. But the strengths and weaknesses for Sunday's match, the fullbacks are definitely the weakness, 100%. Especially Digne.
Yeah, I think that's interesting you say that because I think we'll talk about it in the future, about the game. But I find it very interesting you say that because I think that sort of plays well on what our strengths and weaknesses are going to be in that game. Anyway, throw it back to Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, obviously, the story of Aston Villa's climb. I mean, if you think, God, not even a year ago, you were fighting relegation in this league, and now you're in Europe, and you started the season as probably, I would say, as most people expected you to start it. You lost you've had 2 hard away games which you've lost, and you've won, the 3 games that everybody thought you would win. So you've got to take a positive out of that.
Breaking even is what you'd say, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. And in terms of sort of Steven Gerrard and his demise and so on. I mean, do you think that? I mean, how do you think it was sort of too soon for him to take such a job on?
We have to talk about him.
Well, I think he's people watching. We get a worldwide audience. They've seen Steven Gerrard. They know who he is and so on, and they've seen his sort of demise. And obviously now he's trying to climb the ladder back up, I suppose, out in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. But how much at fault do you think he was, and how good do you think Emery is, or is it
Scottish football? Scottish football to me is just it's Sunday league, and it really is. Can you compare it to the Premier League? Scottish football is just, and I got sucked into it when he came in. I was excited by it. Probably the name, probably Steven Gerrard. He's going to attract great players. He was one of my favourite non-Villa players growing up, but he never had a connection with the fan base. That was the thing. He didn't even try. I'm not sure whether it's because he's so engrossed in Liverpool and he's missed the Liverpool and he can't connect with any other club, because I don't think he was very with Rangers fans up in Scotland. I don't think he really ever had a bond with them either. I just never had a connection.
You say that though, but right at the beginning when he came in, he seemed to get off to a decent start, and he brought in Coutinho, and again Coutinho started quite well for you guys, and everyone was excited about him. There was a bit of a buzz going on at one point, and then the
first 2 or 3 months under his tenure, he was okay. He improved us. His Dean Smith was taking us to the Championship. Definitely, he was. I mean, me and Tember have had this discussion about Dean Smith. I won't go into that, but he just eventually, like Gerrard, once that season went out the way, he had the pre-season and he brought in Kamara. Who else did you bring in? My mind's gone blank now. Luca Dean was signed, I think, in the January, but we made some good signings. But in the end, I think he rubbed too many people up the wrong way. There was an arrogance there. His treatment of Tyrone Mings was disgusting, in my opinion. I thought it was the way he outed him. I mean, you can only see what he's done under Emery. He just wasn't a good man manager. And it's half the battle. You need to be a good man manager. It just wasn't a nice place to go to work, is what I've heard.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, I suppose it's similar to, you could have some similarities with Potter at Chelsea taking that big leap from Brighton and losing the dressing room almost instantaneously. I mean, it was the demise was quite dramatic that we had last season, and even now trying to get it back. We've shown this season we're not just one manager away from reviving that. But
can I just ask what do you think of Gerrard tactically? What did he do so wrong that made
I don't know.
Made it go so wrong?
Honestly, I don't even know what he was trying to do. He liked to play narrow. It was weird. I mean, who plays like that? He didn't like having wingers. He played very narrow. The only player that really done well under Gerrard was, believe it or not, was the one I was saying earlier that was inconsistent. And that was Matty Cash, and he improved Jacob Ramsey. He brought Ramsey through, really, more or less. He made him into an important player for the team. He's obviously injured now, sadly, but yeah, I can't answer. I don't know what his tactics were. He was just up his own arse at the end of the day, and it just didn't work out. Should have been sacked a lot earlier than he was, and we probably would have made the Europa League rather than the Conference League.
So do you think it was more of a situation? I know we had it at Chelsea with Frank Lampard, where we couldn't decide his starting 11 every week.
Yeah.
It would be, he couldn't trust any of the players, or maybe he didn't trust in what he was seeing. But it was a case of 4 or 5 players out the starting 11, a new formation and tactic, and it sort of didn't help settle the squad. And I sort of see that with Aston Villa under Steven Gerrard, and then all of a sudden, manager change. Obviously, we had Thomas Tuchel at the time, and the club completely transforms. So my next question is, what did you make as soon as Emery took over at Aston Villa?
Well, straight away, anything was an improvement on what we were getting served up. His first game was against Man United, put it that way, at Villa Park. We hadn't beaten them at home in 27 years, I think it was. Yeah, it was 27 years, and we won 3-1. So straight away, from that point, it was like, well, this just. But I didn't ever think that we'd finish 7th. I thought we were too far behind the 8 ball by that point, because it was the November, weren't it, of last season when he took over. So a big chunk has already gone of the season. I think it was 12 games gone. So I didn't really. What's that? That's like a quarter, a third of the season gone. Yeah. I didn't think for 1 minute that we'd be top 7. But yeah, record home wins in a row. That's another stat. I think most away wins in a row since Martin O'Neill era. It's just unbelievable. He's an elite manager. We're very lucky to have him, in my opinion. I think he should be managing, and I don't want to put my own club down, but he should be managing someone above where we are in the food chain. He should be above that, in my opinion, definitely. And the ideal club for him probably is someone like Arsenal, but obviously he's already been there, so it doesn't really work, obviously. But even someone like you lot.
I think he'd be perfect for someone like us. But honestly, I look at him now.
I'm not trying to sell him, but I'm not trying to sell him to anyone, but I want him there for the next 10 years. But I just think we're very lucky to have this bloke.
Oh, you are, yeah. You might find that if he has another great season this season, somewhat, look, one of these top 6. When I say top 6, the expected top 5, 6.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean. One of those guys is obviously gonna have underperformed this season. I mean, in fact, we can already see at least 2 of them that are those 2 managers are. Yeah, we're one of them. Man United are the other. That's fairly obvious. And those 2 managers' necks are on the line ultimately. If those 2 teams don't get in the top 8 at least, you could easily expect either of them to go. And even if you finish 6th, 5th, look what happened to Potter got snapped up that sort of way.
I do feel like there's a bit of a like snobbery towards Emery from the media a little bit, in terms of, I mean, they've started to praise him up a bit more now, but after last season. But I just feel like he was a bit of a parody, weren't he? With all the way he used to pronounce certain things when he was at Arsenal, and I just feel like there was a bit of I don't know, just disrespect, really. I don't think people put him in that category of the elite, where I think he is. I think they've put him in the rung below. Like they put him in like the De Zerbi category, but for me, he's above him. I like De Zerbi's unreal, but I just think Emery's in that. I'd put him in with Klopp and Tuchel and Conte, and
Yeah, no, I agree, to be honest. Tim, you're going to mention something about Potter.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you. Well, obviously, we've had discussions about Graham Potter took over at Chelsea at the time, and you said it was absolutely ludicrous that the ownership has appointed Potter as a Chelsea manager. I know it's something you wanted to touch on, so yeah, I just wanted to give you a moment to just sort of express your opinions on what you thought of Chelsea at the time and what's happened since, really.
Well, yeah, Tom sacking Tuchel was just, I can't get my head around it even to this day. I mean, what was it now? Probably a year ago to the week, weren't it? I'd say, was it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Six games in, I think he got.
And I remember where you was one of them. You remember where you were? I was on holiday. I'd had a fucking night out. Sorry for the language. I had a night out on the piss in Portugal on the strip, and I was really hungover, and I slept in the day after till about 2 p.m. because I was hungover, and then I woke up to that news, and I thought it was like a joke or like that. You know, you get on Twitter, you get slow sports news, and it's like it's bullshit basically. It's not Sky Sports News. I literally thought it was like someone making something up, but yeah, because I think he got beat by Zagreb the day before.
Yeah, I think it's probably almost exactly to the day, because I'm pretty sure that was the first Champions League game we played that season.
It was.
And obviously the Champions League starting tomorrow, so it's almost exactly the same situation. And to think that he probably in the league has probably done as well as Pochettino, if not better, at that point. When you think, I mean, and he should have had credit in the bank as well from winning, you know, all the trophies that he won.
And we should have beat Spurs if it weren't down to VAR.
Yeah,
Graham Potter,
yeah.
Graham Potter taking the job. Fair enough, because he's never going to get a job like that. Really, he'd snap your hand off. But he was. It's not his fault, because he's putting. If Chelsea call, you're going. Especially you're at Brighton and you're going, and the Chelsea call, you're going. But he was out of his depth. I always said, everyone used to go on about his when he was at Swansea. What a great job he'd done. Swansea had just been relegated from the Premier League. They'd been in the league for 5 years. Swansea went down. They sacked whoever took them down. They got Graham Potter in, and he didn't even get him in. Normally, if you get relegated, you expected to go straight back up, or at least get into the playoffs. And he didn't even finish in the playoffs. I think he was 9th or something. And they're all going on about how great a job he was. Then he gets the Brighton job, finishes mid-table, like 14th, I think it was, 12th, 9th. Oh, fair enough, 9th's all right. The Zerbies took him to 6th, for God's sake.
Now they're like genuine, you know, I would say genuine European, maybe not quite top 4, but they could be top 4. That's not against that wouldn't be unheard of if they got top 4 this season. It wouldn't be unheard of. I don't think they will, but I think it's not. It wouldn't surprise me if I went in a coma now and woke up in May. That wouldn't be something that would surprise me, you know, when I woke up.
No, I agree, especially after Saturday. But yeah, he's just overrated, totally overrated. Don't know why you'd point him. Should have gone for someone like the Emery kind of ilk, as we've discussed. But yeah, you just like a kid. He's like a kid in a sweet shop. This owner, he just throwing players together, expecting it to work. You've done it again. You've got rid of all the players that you sold. You've sold all the players that you bought, and just gone round again in a circle, which is doing the same thing. I mean, Jackson was a good buy, but.
But I mean, we won't go into it in too much detail. But my argument has always been, I was actually thinking about this on the car home just now, and I was thinking to myself, I have never, ever, there has not been one player that you could name in that whole squad that's improved at this football club.
No.
Not one. I couldn't name one. I could say that Silva's a good player, but he's no better than he was 10 years ago. We haven't improved him, obviously, because that's not what he's there for.
Well,
obviously.
The fact that he's your best player.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
but not one player that we've bought. Not one player. Like Sterling's probably one of our better players, but he's no better than he was when he was playing for Man City. He's not worse. Probably. He's probably worse. I mean, he's in a worse team, so it's hard to judge, but he's probably worse. There's no one apart from academy players, but they can't not improve. I mean, you'd be hard to find a 10-year-old kid walking around that team. Do you know what I mean? But
you've sold that Lewis Hall. I don't understand why you've sold him.
So it just it's money. Yeah, money.
Oh yeah,
But
this FFP, isn't it? And
no,
putting players on 8. That's another thing. Putting players on 8-year deals. I mean,
it's dangerous stuff,
I
mate.
don't want to
Very
go down
dangerous.
here, but
Yeah, so it's going down a big rabbit hole, mate, which
if you
I could talk about all night. To be fair,
I imagine Bowley cannot get his head around the fact that, because in any other industry, if you throw £1 billion in any other industry, anything that you're in, it's going to solve the problem. And in any industry, in football, it doesn't work like that.
No.
You cannot buy passion, desire, heart, things like that. There's no price for that.
And then, I mean, on that, obviously, we've spent a fortune, and our aim is at the moment looks to be that we're looking to stay in the league. But I mean, realistically, we'd like to think that we can at least get sort of top 8.
I think you'll get top 8.
We'd like to think we can. What about Aston Villa, man? I'm just going to turn the light on, but what about Aston Villa's aims?
So that again, sorry, what was the question?
So what do you think going forward is the vision for Aston Villa? What do you predict will happen this season? And what are your aims?
It's got to be similar to what yours are. It's got to be, I wouldn't say top 8. I'd go higher. I'd say top 6, top 7. We finished 7th last season. So yeah, you got to be aiming to at least. I always say in this league, just to stand still, you've got to spend a lot of money, and we've spent the money. So I'd be happy with 7th again. It'd be nice to win a domestic cup as well, even if it's the League Cup, the Carabao Cup, obviously the FA Cup as well. I'd love to win the FA Cup, but it's probably less realistic than the League Cup was probably the most realistic one. I'd be happy with just top 7 and a League Cup. I mean, we've been starved of trophies. I mean, you lot, you're saying it's awful at the moment, but you spoil. How many trophies have you seen your team win in your lifetime? I haven't seen us win anything.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I remember beating you in the 2000 final, and I don't think you've won anything since then anyway. So you must have been League Cup 96 or something, I reckon.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
That's what it is. That don't count.
But do you think? I mean, obviously you're in this Europa Conference League. Obviously, West Ham won that last season. They had a pretty awful Premier League season. But I mean, you've got to be in with half a chance. But obviously, at the same time, it's a bit of a distraction as well, because it certainly distracted West Ham in the league, didn't it? I'm guessing at points. Do you see that making an effect, or you just got to wait and see?
Yeah, I just hope that. I mean, Temba knows my opinion on that competition. I'm not going to, even though we've qualified for it, I'm not going to lie in here and say that it's the Champions League, because it's the third tournament. It's the Papa John's of European football. That's what it is. It's nice to qualify for Europe. It's been too long without European football, but it's a B-Tech European competition. To me, it's something for the fans. I'm going to Poland on Wednesday. We play Legia Warsaw. I'm going, but to me, the Premier League has to take the main focus. It has to.
Okay, and just going on that, not from your perspective, but for obviously you talk to Villa fans every day, all day. So, what do you think their perspective is on finishing high as possible?
I think they're the opposite. I think they would rather do well in Europe or win that than finish, say, I don't know, top 7. Or I'd rather keep trying to knock on the door for the Champions League and stay in there. If we drop off like West Ham, if we drop off and say we finish 13th, but we win this, this fake European competition. The only good thing about it is it gets you into the Europa League, like straight through.
Yeah,
that is the only positive to it, to be fair. But I don't know. I don't feel like it wouldn't if we won it wouldn't feel like a major trophy to me. I just don't think it holds any real prestige. I've had arguments with Villa fans about this. They're the opposite. They'd rather go all out to win that because it's probably the most realistic thing we can win. Then we've won something. Then we haven't got that over us. But yeah, I'd rather finish. I don't know what you think if it was Chelsea, but I'd rather finish fifth, qualify for the Champions League, than win that and finish, say, I don't know, 10th.
Yeah, we used to have a similar problem when we used to qualify for the Europa League, and we ended up winning it a couple of times. But we had half decent seasons as well. I seem to remember we didn't.
But at least the Europa
finished third.
We finished. Yeah, there you go. So we had we got the best of both. We qualified for the Champions League anyway, and then we won the Europa. And it was one of those competitions where really most Chelsea fans didn't even watch it until it got to sort of the quarter. It was that sort of thing. And that's a bigger competition in the Conference League, really.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. To me, the Europa League, I would have a totally different opinion, because to me that does hold prestige. Like, it's the old UEFA Cup. It gets you into the Champions League if you win it. Let's be honest, that's where everyone wants to be. Everyone wants to be in the Champions League. No one wants to be in this. I'm sorry. Tottenham didn't want to be in it. I think they threw that last game, or there was, they didn't really want to be in it, ideally. It's for club. It is for clubs like West Ham and Palace, if they were to try and, in my opinion, but it is for the fans. I'm looking forward to the trips, but put it this way, I'll be telling them over there in Poland, Sunday is the priority. As in our match.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I've got a little list of questions, but. Yeah, I mean, in terms of how Villa's going to line up, is it going to be a similar? Because obviously you had was it Palace at the weekend at home? Is it going to be pretty much? Are you quite a consistent lineup these days, or is it a bit of a tinker man when it comes to these sort of away games?
He's a bit of a tinker man. He could go free at the back. He did it against Burnley and it worked. Like I say, I would probably bring in Yuri Tielemans because he changed the game on Saturday. I'd maybe go with Gerrard as well as Watkins. I mean, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Watkins. I don't understand the and I've heard you praising him on the podcast before. This bloke scores goals. He gets double figures every season. You get these Villa fans that say, "Oh, we need someone a bit better to take us to the next level." Well, who's that person? You tell me.
We've been trying to find him for 10 years, that person. We still can't find him.
they're at a premium. These 25 goal a season, 35 in all comps, they're at a premium. Man United have just signed that Højlund. His record is awful. Well, it's not awful, but it's not better than Watkins is. And he's playing
probably not better than Jackson, to be honest. That Højlund is probably he's no more proven, is he, than Jackson, really? But
I think Jackson's a bit better than Højlund. He scored 9 goals in Italy. Watkins is scoring 15 a season in the best league in the world. I don't understand what people give him grief. All right, he can go on spells without goals, but then he can go on spells with goals. I think that's just the nature of he's a 1 in 3 striker. That's just the nature of it.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we're at Chelsea as a team at the moment. We're really struggling for goals. I suppose what a lot of Chelsea fans listening will want to know is where if you're Pochettino, where is the weakness in Aston Villa's defensive lines, or where's the weakness in the way they can see goals? Are they vulnerable from set plays? Are they vulnerable from
counter attacks?
Those sort of things. What's how the teams normally penetrate?
Like I said earlier, it'll be the high line. If we play the high line, I think you'll beat us. But the thing is, you can't finish. You just can't finish. So we might get away with it, but the best thing to do, obviously, Pochettino is not listening, but get at Cash. He's probably Cash is the weakness. If he's playing, especially if he's playing in a 4, I think, and like I say, and Digne on the other side just can't defend. We're pretty sound from set pieces. To your question, we don't really. It's normal numbers in terms of the goals that we concede from set pieces. There's nothing really alarming, but I'd say the fullbacks are the weakness.
Yeah, and it's funny because we're gone, Tim.
That's interesting you say, because we normally play Chilwell on the left wing, so I don't think Cash will have a tough day if Chilwell's the player he's going to be coming up against. But Sterling versus Digne would probably be a good battle to see because notoriously Sterling's been playing on the right for us, and he's actually been doing pretty well against every fullback he's played against. So I like to see that matchup. I think your midfield looks stronger than ours.
Yeah, I was about to say the midfield is if obviously I personally think on paper that there's no weakness in that midfield. Whoever plays, whether it's McGinn, Tillemans, and Kamara and Louise, or someone's got to miss out there because you'll play. It probably will be free. I hope Tillemans plays because, like I said earlier, changed the game against Palace. But there's no weakness in the midfield. A sound up front. Like I say, it's definitely the fullbacks. We've got a solid goalkeeper as well. Who's in goal? Does Sanchez play for you?
Yeah. And just to add to that, I did want to say that I think this is the very first time in about maybe forever I can remember where I think a Chelsea midfield is going to get beaten aerially, strength-wise, and technically. I don't see any department where we actually dominate that midfield.
No,
because I think you're better technically. I think you're better aerially. I think you're better. You've got stronger players. So I think that's where the game is going to be won and lost for me. I think, and I think
the midfield turns up, Villa win you.
Yeah, and also the other player, obviously, I wanted to mention was Diaby. We previously mentioned. I think he, in my opinion, without going too much into it, I do think he will be the key player for Aston Villa. I do think maybe he'll get a goal or assist, but I'm mainly worried about him and Watkins because I remember last season Watkins versus Chelsea, and he was definitely the danger man. He caused our defense problems, stretching them left and right, and it's something that I noticed our defense can't deal with defending players out wide. So it would need Thiago Silva to be on his very, very best game, which we haven't seen for a little while, which people may not want to mention, but it's a thing now. We're relying on a 38-year-old to be our best player or best centre-back. Colwell's a bit maybe too young and experienced in this league. Disasi, another one. He hasn't got inch of Premier League experience as of yet. So I think it really is a tough test more for us than you guys. I think you guys go into this as favourites and probably the stronger team. So in terms of our weaknesses, I think the way we can get caught is on transitions. I think we're very poor at keeping the ball very well, and as you say, finishing. So if someone like McGinn picks up the ball, drives with it, gives it to Diaby, I think that's where you catch us out. Set play, we're not very good. Sanchez, like you say, in goal, although he had a very good game against Bournemouth, it's still yet to see what. Yeah, it's still yet to see, but he's showing a bit of like the Edouard Mendy form where you don't know he's going to be good one game, bad the next game, sort of thing. So I think it will be a really interesting battle. I don't know what you think, Charlie.
Yeah, I'm not massively looking for. I mean, if you've got to compare it to the last season's match when we were probably just as bad as we are now, and Villa were probably they were coming up, but I wouldn't say they were favourites for that match. And that was Potter's last game, wasn't it? We got absolutely. Well, we actually played. We played well. We played okay, but we just couldn't put the ball.
You couldn't finish.
So all that's going to happen, if you look at it, we're going in with exactly the same problem, and it's the same manager, isn't it? Emery was obviously the manager at the time. He'll just do the same thing, I think. He'll just be an idiot not to. He'll just play like block.
I don't see it being 2-0 like it was last year.
But you were lucky because both shots you scored with, but at the same time, I think that you will sit back a lot. I think you'd be an idiot not to, especially away. I think you've got to take a leaf out of that book last season. There's not a lot of difference. I mean, although there is a lot of difference in the Chelsea team in terms of quality, there's hardly any difference. It's the same, it's the same old sort of, it'll be the same old build-up play, nice and tidy, and then absolutely nothing in the final third. That's how it was against Bournemouth. So it's just going to be the same again. And I just think I don't know whether you'll necessarily win, but I don't think you'll lose. Let's put it that way. I think that it might be 0-0. It might just be boring 0-0 or 1-1 or something like that. But I don't think it might be a bit of a stalemate. But I don't. I'd be really surprised if we win. I mean, if we are going to win, it's only going to ever be by one goal. Let's put it that way. We're not going to beat you 3-0 or something. That's just not going to happen. That's just not the way that we're playing at the moment, and so that's kind of unfortunately. Going into just a couple more things just before we finish off this preview. Niall, as an Aston Villa fan, what's your sort of favourite game in previous Chelsea Aston Villa? Could be at Villa Park, could be at Stamford Bridge, could be in the League Cup, could be in the FA Cup. I doubt it'll be in the FA Cup, but what's your favourite one?
It's probably on Boxing Day of 2011. I think McLeish was the manager of Villa, and you had, I think, Villas-Boas was there, and we won 3-1 at the Bridge.
At the Bridge.
Yeah, at the Bridge.
I do kind of remember this one now.
I remember this very well. Drogba scored a penalty. I think Bent equalised, or was it Bent scored the third goal? I'm pretty sure it's the year we won the Champions League, and I'm sure it was a Drogba penalty. We went 1-0 up and lost 3-1.
Stephen Ireland scored his only goal for Villa. In that match. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I remember that game. Yeah. I remember because I was speaking to Macaulay about that, and he was on a plane when he saw Chelsea 1-0 up, and
Macca on a plane, surely not.
That happened. But in terms of my favorite, some of my favorite fixtures I want to throw out there, I think obviously the 3-3, 4-4, although it didn't go in our favor, they're great fixtures to watch. The 3-3 in 2011, I believe. 4-4 was it 2007 as well?
Yeah, that was Boxing Day as well.
Yeah.
There was an 8-0 that one. Wasn't there an 8-0?
You had to mention that, didn't
you? And one of my not so favorite games, the 1-0 Fabian Delph. I can't ever remember getting so angry at a game.
In terms of this, I feel like we've only talked about it at Stamford Bridge. Yeah, in terms of overall, there was another one. Was it Villa Park when Richard Dunn and James Collins?
Yeah.
You were one up in that one as well.
Yeah, I was actually at that game in the Villa stand at that game, and I just remember us going 1-0 up, expecting us to win, and again, I think Chelsea Villa has always been a fixture that's had maybe not the most goal scoring games, free scoring games as you may say, but you always get a feeling like it's going to be a good game no matter what happens. I mean, a few years ago, remember, I think you beat us 2-1 the last day or 2-0 the last day when Jack Grealish scored. Aspilicueta got a red card.
COVID era, weren't it?
Yeah, COVID era. The Mason Mount game where we were both at the Bridge. He scored that half volley. Lukaku. We've had some great games, obviously, last season. So it's always been a great fixture.
It is my favourite fixture, to be fair. Probably because I know you guys, and we have a laugh in the pub before the game and stuff. It's probably is my favourite fixture.
Yeah. So with that having said, what do you reckon the scoreline will be on Sunday?
Score draw. 2 each.
2 each. I 1-0 to Villa, unfortunately. I'm going to say 1-0 to Aston Villa. What about you, Tim?
I'm actually going to go with a 3-1 Aston Villa.
Jesus.
I don't think many people will be happy to hear that, but I really don't see how well Aston Villa are doing and how poorly we're doing, how can this just turn around in 24? Within a week, basically, with the trajectory we're going in, we're just going one way, and it just looks a carbon copy of last season. Like you said, Charlie, if Emery sets up the exact same way as last season,
they can't lose.
Blueprint there.
Yeah, they can't lose. Yeah. Great. Well, unless there's any other business, guys, we'll leave you guys to it. Thanks very much, especially to Niall for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Niall, we'll probably get you on next week to do a review, but only if Chelsea win, eh? I'm only joking. No. We'll see what point. We'll see you probably at some point next week, mate.
Yeah. And you both going to the match, or?
Tem is. I'm not. I'm not going this time around. Tom is though, so you can see Tom there. Yeah.
To be fair, I don't think I've got a ticket.
No. Okay.
No,
Well, look, we'll leave it there anyway, and we will. We'll see you next week up the Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea. See you later.
Enjoy the game. Up the Villa.